London, 2018. The city glittered with wealth and opportunity, yet beneath the glimmering skyline, a deadly empire was quietly rising. Jonathan Mercer, a man celebrated as a financial prodigy and philanthropist, had carefully crafted an image of success, trust, and influence. But behind the glittering facade, an insidious truth was taking root. His empire thrived on manipulation, intimidation, and a trail of blood that very few dared to acknowledge. Disclaimer: content is for awareness and educational purposes only. Viewer discretion advised. The story begins in the heart of London's financial district, where Mercer's office towers loomed over the streets below like silent sentinels of power. To the public, he was a visionary, turning modest investments into sprawling conglomerates. To his closest associates, however, he was ruthless, calculating, and unafraid to destroy anyone who threatened his climb to the top. The first cracks in Mercer's carefully curated reputation emerged in 2018 with the mysterious disappearance of Richard Hale, one of his most trusted accountants. Officially, it was reported as a tragic accident, a car crash late at night, but investigators soon noticed irregularities. The brakes had been tampered with, and Hale had been investigating financial discrepancies implicating Mercer in offshore accounts and shadow dealings. The whispers began. Could Mercer's empire be hiding something far darker than anyone imagined? Soon, a chilling pattern emerged. Former allies vanished under suspicious circumstances. Key employees resigned abruptly, and those who questioned Mercer found themselves isolated or threatened. A leaked internal email hinted at intimidation, with words that struck fear into every reader. Loyalty is silence. Betrayal is permanent. London's elite began to whisper behind closed doors, but none dared confront Mercer directly. His results were untouchable. Profits soared, stock prices climbed, and his social standing remained untarnished. The first public scandal erupted when investigative journalist Helen Reeves narrowly escaped an attempted abduction while probing Mercer's finances. A note left behind simply read, "Some secrets are worth killing for." The city was shocked. How could a man so respected publicly wield such hidden power? And yet, Mercer remained untouchable. The question on everyone's mind was chilling. How far would he go to protect his empire? And who would be next? Even Mercer's family became enmeshed in the growing mystery. Friends noted that some relatives had inexplicably distanced themselves, while others disappeared for extended periods. Rumors of blackmail, rigged property deals, and covert sabotage surfaced quietly, painting a portrait of a man who equated loyalty with survival and betrayal with deadly consequences. Each act of greed, each manipulation, was executed with meticulous precision, and the full cost of his empire was only beginning to reveal itself. By late 2018, investigators preparing to dig deeper were met with an unsettling realization. Mercer's next move could escalate beyond financial deception into an arena where human life itself was a bargaining chip. Who would survive the next phase of his empire? What price would be paid, and who would be left standing to tell the tale? The shadow of Mercer's greed stretched further than anyone could imagine, and the answers lay hidden in plain sight, waiting to be uncovered. If this story has gripped you so far, comment Empire of Blood, share with those who understand the dark side of ambition, subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc for more chilling real-life stories, and turn on the notification bell. What hidden secrets lie behind Mercer's empire? Who will be the next to confront his wrath? The night air in London had grown colder by early 2019, but within the walls of Mercer's empire, the heat of tension and fear simmered, invisible to the outside world. The disappearance of Richard Hale had only scratched the surface. Mercer's greed was relentless, and every new venture, acquisition, or investment carried a hidden threat, a test of loyalty, a trap for the unsuspecting, and often a path to ruin for those who dared oppose him. Detective Marcus Albright had been quietly monitoring Mercer for months. A seasoned officer in the Metropolitan Police, he had handled high-profile financial crimes before, but nothing prepared him for the scale and audacity of Mercer's operations. The detective reviewed mountains of documents, suspicious transfers, offshore accounts, shell corporations scattered across Europe. Each layer of the financial web revealed a deeper level of manipulation. Money was not the only weapon here. Fear was the true currency of Mercer's empire. One afternoon, a chilling tip arrived from an anonymous source. A young employee named Amelia Bryant, who had worked in Mercer's London office for less than a year, claimed she had seen something she should never have witnessed. A clandestine meeting in Mercer's private vault where threats were made and a rival investor was coerced into signing over his shares under duress. Amelia's voice trembled as she recounted the details. "He watches everyone," she whispered. "If you make one wrong move, they disappear." Mercer's empire thrived on secrecy, and the employees lived in a constant state of unease. Loyalty was enforced through subtle intimidation and sudden disappearances, leaving a trail of uncertainty. Even seasoned executives hesitated to question the decisions made in Mercer's office, knowing that a single misstep could result in professional ruin or worse. It wasn't only financial ruin they feared. People began to wonder if Mercer's ambitions had no moral boundary at all. Meanwhile, Detective Albright discovered a pattern in the mysterious disappearances and accidents connected to Mercer. Car crashes, sudden resignations, even cases of people moving abroad without explanation, all seemed coincidentally aligned with key moments in Mercer's expansion. The pieces were falling into place. This was no ordinary corporate greed. This was an empire maintained by terror, deception, and calculated brutality. Each decision Mercer made was part of a larger plan to consolidate his power and eliminate opposition permanently. The tension escalated when investigative journalist Helen Reeves, despite surviving her earlier attempt on life, began publishing reports that hinted at the darker side of Mercer's empire. Her articles painted a haunting portrait of fear, manipulation, and the chilling power of unchecked ambition. But even as she exposed some of the truth, a creeping sense of dread followed her. Would Mercer target her again, or was the world about to see just how far he would go to protect his secrets? Mercer's inner circle, too, began to fracture. Allies who had once shared in his wealth and influence found themselves caught between survival and conscience. Some quietly fled, severing ties, while others were confronted with impossible choices: comply with increasingly ruthless orders or risk becoming the next casualty in the empire of blood Mercer had meticulously built. Each betrayal, each silenced voice, only strengthened the shadow that hung over London's elite. By mid-2019, the empire had grown more audacious. Rumors spread of coercion in boardrooms, intimidation in private residences, and dark dealings extending across national borders. Mercer's reputation in public remained untarnished, yet behind closed doors, fear reigned supreme. Detective Albright, Helen Reeves, and Amelia Bryant were only beginning to scratch the surface. But the deeper they dug, the more dangerous the truth became. How could one man wield so much influence while remaining untouchable? And who would be forced to pay the ultimate price next? If this story has gripped you so far, comment Empire of Blood Part 2. Share this story with those who need to understand the lengths greed can reach. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc for more chilling real-life accounts, and turn on the notification bell. How many more lives would be affected before Mercer's crimes were exposed? Who would survive the next phase of his relentless ambition? By late 2019, the web of Mercer's empire had expanded beyond anything London's criminal investigators had imagined. It was no longer just a story of financial deception. It was a sprawling labyrinth of intimidation, betrayal, and blood-stained ambition. Detective Marcus Albright felt the pressure mounting with each lead he pursued. Mercer's influence wasn't confined to the corporate world. It had seeped into politics, law enforcement, and even the media. Every investigation felt like walking a tightrope over a pit of invisible threats. Amelia Bryant had grown increasingly paranoid. Each morning, she noticed small changes in the office. Files subtly shifted, a visitor's face lingered too long, or the security camera angles seemed almost personalized. She confided in Detective Albright, revealing more about the inner workings of Mercer's operations. "It's not just money," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's control. He wants to own people, their choices, even their fears. You don't just lose a job here, you lose everything, and some never come back." Meanwhile, Helen Reeves published a devastating expose, tracing a series of mysterious deaths and disappearances to Mercer's empire. She detailed shocking incidents, a young financier who vanished after questioning a suspicious acquisition, a whistleblower forced to flee abroad under threats, and even rumors of a private detention facility, unverified but chilling in its implication. Publicly, Mercer appeared untouchable. Behind closed doors, whispers circulated that anyone who crossed him faced ruin, or far worse. The tension within Mercer's inner circle reached a breaking point. Executives who had once celebrated his vision now walked on eggshells, knowing their every word could be interpreted as disloyalty. One high-ranking partner, Samuel Cross, made the fatal mistake of confronting Mercer about discrepancies in the company's overseas accounts. Hours later, he disappeared. His office was left in perfect order, yet the envelope of financial records he had been examining was gone. No one spoke of him, except in hushed, fearful tones. The chilling message was clear: disobedience was not tolerated. Detective Albright and his team intensified their surveillance, but Mercer's cunning was unmatched. Each lead seemed to evaporate, each tip dissolved under the weight of legal loopholes and intimidation. Even the journalists pursuing the story felt the creeping hands of danger. One night, Helen received a note slipped under her apartment door. Curiosity can be fatal. Stop digging, or next time it won't be just your career. Despite the fear, cracks in Mercer's armor began to show. Greed that had driven his empire also made him reckless. His demands for loyalty became public knowledge through leaked documents, and whispers of abuse of power started circulating among influential circles. Detective Albright noticed patterns. Every coercion, every disappearance, every unexplained transfer of wealth traced back to Mercer's insatiable ambition. He began to see a trail, almost like breadcrumbs, leading to the empire's most sinister corners. The chilling question became, who could stop him? Was it law enforcement, risking life and career against a man who could manipulate systems? Was it journalists, risking their freedom and safety to expose him? Or would Mercer's reign continue unchecked, fueled by fear, blood, and an unquenchable thirst for power? As night fell over the city, the shadows of the empire grew longer, and every heartbeat in London seemed to echo the silent dread of Mercer's influence. If this story has gripped you so far, comment Empire of Blood Part 3. Share this story with those who need to understand the darkness behind unchecked ambition. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and turn on the notification bell. Who would be the next victim of greed? Could anyone survive the empire Mercer had built on blood and fear? The final months of 2020 brought a storm that no one, not even Mercer, could control. The threads of his empire, once taut and unbreakable, began to unravel under relentless investigation, internal betrayal, and mounting public scrutiny. Detective Marcus Albright, now working with an international task force, traced the financial labyrinth that Mercer had built across continents. Every shell corporation, every offshore account, and every coerced partner left a faint trail, enough to begin dismantling an empire that had seemed untouchable. Inside Mercer's headquarters, paranoia had transformed into panic. Amelia Bryant, who had once feared speaking out, took the bold step of secretly recording incriminating conversations. She revealed how Mercer manipulated contracts, intimidated rivals, and orchestrated disappearances with surgical precision. These recordings, smuggled to investigative journalists and law enforcement, exposed the hidden violence behind the billionaire's polished public persona. It was a slow, tense game of cat and mouse, but the momentum was finally shifting. Meanwhile, Helen Reeves published a second expose detailing Mercer's network of silent enforcers and the methods used to silence opposition. One particularly shocking account described a private island, disguised as a luxury retreat, where threats and lessons in loyalty were administered. Though unverified, the account sent shivers through London's elite. Boardroom whispers turned into public outrage, and the pressure on government officials and law enforcement to act became impossible to ignore. Mercer's own inner circle began to collapse. Samuel Cross's disappearance, once a silent warning, became a rallying cry for those who had lived in fear. Key executives defected, providing the task force with evidence that connected Mercer directly to criminal activities spanning fraud, intimidation, and even manslaughter. The empire's foundation, built entirely on fear, greed, and ruthless ambition, began to crumble as those who had been silenced or coerced found the courage to speak. The climax arrived on a rainy night in December. Mercer, believing himself untouchable, was cornered in his penthouse by law enforcement. Every window was a reflection of the empire he had built, a towering monument to greed, now mirrored in rain-streaked glass as the world watched. He attempted to negotiate, using his wealth as leverage, but the evidence was irrefutable. The Empire of Blood had reached its limit. Detective Albright's voice, steady but firm, delivered the indictment that would finally bring Mercer to justice. Yet the story did not end with his arrest. The Empire had left scars, ruined lives, missing persons, and shattered trust. The survivors faced the task of rebuilding, learning that the cost of unchecked ambition is often paid in blood and fear. Public discourse turned to questions of accountability and oversight. How could a man like Mercer manipulate systems for so long? And how could future empires of greed be prevented? As the rain washed over the city, it carried away the visible traces of Mercer's reign, but the whispers of his cruelty lingered, a stark reminder of the dangers when ambition goes unchecked. Who had truly won, and who would be next in line to attempt a similar ascent, risking the same catastrophic fall? The audience is left pondering the fragile line between power, greed, and morality. If this story gripped you, comment "Empire of Blood concluded." Share this chilling account with those who must understand the cost of ambition gone wrong. Subscribe to Crime Chronicles TVc and turn on the notification bell. Could such a reign of terror happen again? What would you do if faced with someone like Mercer?